Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the second day of Wild Apricot's Membership Growth Online Summit. And for those who are new to the summit or just joining us today, we are having a free webinar every day this week. And yesterday we had John Hayden telling us how to attract and retain members using an online marketing funnel. And today we're going to talk about how you actually get people into the funnel in the first place. So how do you get them to know about your organization or your cause? So one of the ways you can do that is with Facebook ads. And that's what we're going to learn today. We're going to learn step by step how you can set up a Facebook ad campaign. And showing us how to do this is our very own Shiv Narayanan. So before we get started, I see people still logging in, and let me know that you can hear me okay. I'd like to introduce myself. So my name is Lori Smith. I'm the community manager here. And on chat to help you with your questions or any technical issues you might be having is Terry Ibell. And so you will notice that you have a chat box. So as participants, you're muted, but we really encourage you to use that chat box, ask all your questions, especially for this session. We're making it more like a workshop. We want you to really understand and leave today's session knowing how to set this up. Also, you can tweet using the hashtag WASummit2016 at Wild Apricot, which you can see at the bottom of the screen there. And anyone who's earning their CAE accreditation, you can earn 1 credit by attending today's webinar. And of course, we are recording this and we'll be sending out a follow-up email with all the recordings next week. So you'll have all session recordings then. So now I'd like to introduce Shiv Narayanan. He is the Chief Marketing Officer here at Wild Apricot, and he leads our content marketing, funnel, business development, sales, and customer success efforts. He's also very dedicated to helping you, Wild Apricot clients, learn how to do marketing better. That's truly his passion, with teaching others how to harness the power of online marketing tools. And previous to Wild Apricot, Shiv led the launch and go-to-market of Mobaroo apps, an on-demand app for Android. And this is really where he became a Facebook ad guru, so to speak. Now, outside of Wild Apricot, Shiv is a huge sports fan, but in particular hockey and cricket. And just recently, Shiv launched a new podcast series, How to SaaS, where he's interviewing leaders of SaaS companies and finding out their secrets to success. So Shiv, thank you for joining us today. I'm going to pass presenter control over to you. Shiv, we're not hearing you yet, so oh, there you go.
Hi, Lori. How's it going? There we
Great.
go.
Yay.
There we go. Can you see my screen here? Lori?
Yes, we can. Sorry, I muted myself there.
No
Okay.
problem. All right.
Okay.
All right. A little bit of a hitch there. Welcome, everybody. Super excited to have you here. And this is the summit. It's a really big undertaking for us at Wild Apricot. It's the first time we've ever done this. And the reason this all came about is because we did a survey last summer where we asked our existing clients if they could wave a magic wand, what is the #1 problem that they would solve? And we got a lot of interesting feedback. Some people said that, hey, there's some features in your software that we would like improved, and we're definitely working on that with our development team. But most of the feedback, surprisingly, came in the area of growing membership, particularly about increasing event attendees, volunteering, funding, literally anything that has to do with the membership of an organization and growing it. So we really did take that to heart, and that's why we're trying to help organizations grow and succeed, because we've noted that that's the #1 issue that they're facing. So I want to start today's webinar with a poll. How many of you are more interested in more marketing-focused webinars from Wild Apricot? So I'm going to launch that poll. Please give some feedback, and then we'll start the webinar right after that. So I'm seeing 98% of people are saying yes. So that's interesting, and I'll just close the poll because it is overwhelmingly a yes. We don't have to wait for too many results, and just to show you guys, those are the results right there. Okay, so let's get started. So when we're talking about this particular webinar, This actually started with the mini course that we launched last year. It was our most popular mini course or offer that we sent to our clients. And so if you're interested in downloading it, the link is right here at the bottom. And Terry will be sharing that within the chat itself. So register for the mini course because there's a lot of details in there that we won't be able to cover within this 1 hour. And you can get that information there. So the common problem that we want to really solve is in this workshop is how do you get people to your events, right? So when you think about your events, you probably use some of the following ways to get people to them. Either you send out a regular email newsletter in which you mention the event. Maybe you send out a dedicated email blast. Maybe you reach out to members from using other mediums. You get some referrals. You promote the event at other organization events. And we want to introduce Facebook ads as being a new option for you to drive traffic to your event. So the strategy we're going to suggest is we're going to create a Facebook ad that's going to direct to an annual conference registration page for a fictional organization that we've created, which is the Nurses of Chicago. And then we're going to measure the performance of the ad so that we can improve upon it for future ad campaigns. So the basics. Before you even consider launching any type of an ad campaign, there's a few metrics that you really need to get a handle on. And the first one is what we call as the customer acquisition cost. And it's a question for all of you is, if you know the number, how much you are spending to acquire one member to join your organization, right? And that money that you're spending on each member could come in the form of holding an event where you ask your existing members to bring customers, or any staff that you have on your payroll. Really, all those numbers totaled up, and then you divide it by the number of members that you're really acquiring on a monthly, annual basis. And from that, you know, okay, this to get one new member into my organization, it costs $50 or $100 or $500, right? And from my experience, most organizations or companies don't really know what that number is. The second metric, though, and the reason that metric is important is because of the second metric that we're going to talk about, which is called lifetime value. And what that metric is about is how much is one member really worth to your organization, right? So if you're spending $40 or $50, it really lacks context to figure out, is this a good thing or a bad thing, until you really know how much that member that you bring to your organization is really going to contribute to the dues that you generate in the form of annual memberships or how many events they attend, right? So a good business model is when your cost of acquisition is significantly lower than the lifetime value that you generate over that member's experience with your organization. But oftentimes people violate that and they end up spending a lot more. And let's say a member joins you and they only spend, let's say, $20 with your organization, then really your marketing metrics are not good and you should slow down with your spending. And by the way, Lori is asking if people have some questions about cost of acquisition and lifetime value. I'm happy to slow down. So Lori, please jump in whenever you can with any questions. And really what we're talking about overall here is a return on investment, right? Lori, you have a question?
Sorry, no. But just go slower, and your sound is cutting out in and out just a little bit, so just be aware of that. Okay.
Okay. We'll keep going. So yeah, just be mindful of the return on investment as you go down this path of paid advertising, and later we also have another webinar on Google Ads. So keeping these three metrics in mind is really going to help you. So with that said, why Facebook ads, right? Advertising is really about how you splice the world. So in the old world, where in the ads, in old media, you're looking at things like TV commercials or radio spots or ads in newspapers. It really comes down to this metric called cost per impression that you're making, right? So that's why Super Bowl commercials are really expensive, because you have so many eyeballs that are watching the particular ad that you put out there. What we really want to do is do something different, which is focus on a metric called cost per click, so that you can directly attribute the action from the customer to how much that you are spending. Because if you live in the cost per impression world, you can go down a black hole of ad spending, which really small organizations can't afford. If you're Apple or McDonald's or Coca-Cola, you can really do that. But within the small organization world, you can't, right? So that's why Facebook ads and Google ads really present an opportunity for you to take your limited funding and squeeze a lot of value out of it, because the only times that you get charged are when the person that you're trying to target takes an action, which is in this case a click. And there is a difference between Google Ads and Facebook Ads. Google Ads show you an ad when you search. So there's an action required from you when you search up, let's say even, shoes, running shoes on Google, and you'll see a lot of search results where there's ads from Amazon showing you running shoes, because in that moment, because you're looking for running shoes, Google Ads can contextually show you a product that matches what you're searching for. On Facebook, it's a little bit different because you can target people based on who they are, right? So even if you don't search for something like running shoes, I can look for people who are sneaker fanatics and find a way to target them so that I can pitch shoes to them at a time when they're not looking. But if I have the right offer with the right message and the right content, I might be able to get their interest to buy a pair of running shoes even when they weren't looking for them, right? So within the world of small organizations, this is really important. Let's look at our example of nurses here. If there's not always a nurse looking for a professional association of nurses to join, but if you are that association, maybe you want to use Facebook ads to get in front of a lot of nurses that are looking for it, right? And how you're measuring all the costs that are adding up here is every single time the person clicks, there's a certain bid price that you're putting on every click. So let's say it's 20 cents a click, and if you get 100 clicks on that particular ad, you end up spending $20 on that campaign. So it's a very simple calculation when you're trying to measure how much you put into the campaign. So on to our workshop now. Again, I want to repeat the strategies. We're going to create a Facebook ad. We're going to direct that ad to the event registration page within Wild Apricot or whatever software that you're using, and then we're going to measure the performance of the ad right after to figure out if the ad is actually effective. And the measuring the performance piece is really the most important part of this entire thing, because you can really invest a lot of money and not get any sort of return if you're not constantly measuring. I see a question in the chat here which says, can you cap the maximum amount of clicks? You absolutely can. You can do it by a daily budget. By, let's say you can spend $10 per day. You can do it by, you can change that budget by daily. You can set it, if you, let's say you hit the $10 mark, you can also increase it to say, okay, I'm getting some good return today. Let me make it $20. So you can really nail down your spending on the micro level every single day.
Great. And before you jump in, Shiv, someone wanted to just see the cost per click formula, which you might get in to later. And then just to let everyone know, we had a couple questions. How do you define a member? What's the context for all of this? So if you have an organization with a cause, or you're trying to attract more members to your club or trade association or whatever it might be, this is how you build that awareness. So that's what Shiv is talking about here.
Mm-hmm. And John, I can keep the slide on here while I just speak more to it, because I can see there's a lot of questions. The context for me is you're really building out a funnel, similar to the way John Hayden was talking about during yesterday's session. And what you're trying to do is you have existing members who are already in your database, right? So even once somebody becomes a paying member of your organization, there's no guarantee that they're going to come to your next event or your next 10 events, right? So the marketing piece of your organization shouldn't stop there. You should have processes and campaigns in place to bring them to your events, right? And what I've found is that most people just stop at sending one email blast to their audience, and if nobody shows up, well, then you assume that the audience isn't interested, or you did a poor job, or there's a lot of frustration, right? And so my argument is that you should be investing time into those campaigns, because the more you put effort into it, the more the different avenues that you use, the more your success is going to be.
And can you just clarify what a bid price is?
Sure. So with any ad platform, there is a bid price, and then there's the actual price that you're paying per click. Often the best thing to do is to let Google and Facebook, whichever ad platform that you're using, do an auto bid. And what the auto bid does is it's mapping your your campaign against all the other competitors that's out there, and let's say the competition is low, the automation will just bring your bid price really down. But let's say there's 10,000 people out there bidding for running shoes on Google. Google will increase the amount you're spending. That being said, some people, when they're advanced, they set a max on their bid price, right? So if you know that for sure you can't spend more than $3 a click based on your data, you might put in a manual amount, and that might mean that you lose some opportunities, but you have to be comfortable with knowing that, hey, I can't go above this amount because my cost will be too high. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yep. We're all clear here.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So again, this is our event, right, which is an annual conference for the nurses of Chicago. And our goal is to get existing members to sign up. And I'm sure when people are hearing me say existing members, it's like, well, I can contact my existing members using my email campaigns within Wild Apricot or whatever software I'm using. But it's usually better to take a multi-channel approach, because sometimes people check their inbox and just skip past your email. Or even if they read the email, they think, okay, I'm going to do this later, and they forget about it. So you really want to be on multiple platforms where your users are, so that you can ensure the highest number of conversions. Again, going back to that funnel concept, the more work you do at higher levels of the funnel and the higher your conversion rate is, the more people will move to the next level, and fewer people will leak out of the funnel and not come back, right? So, and existing members is the best place to start, because they are your existing customers. They like you, they believe in your cause, they like your events, they like your community. So that, for me, is always the first place to start with any type of ad campaign, to see if can that channel even work for you in the first place. And if your existing customers won't sign up, existing members won't sign up, then what's to say a completely new person who's never heard of you or what you do, why would they sign up in the first place? I see a question from Jessica saying, can you use Facebook Messenger? No, you can't. This has to be using the native ads platform on Facebook on the newsfeed. And also, I recommend never doing, this is a side recommendation, but I recommend never doing an ad on the sidebar of Facebook. Just keep it on the central panel, because then it'll also show on mobile. I have more questions here, Lori. I want to address it. I don't want to skip too far ahead.
Sorry, yeah, this is a good one from Gabriella. Does a person have to have liked or commented on your Facebook page to see your Facebook ads?
No, they do not, but it helps a lot. So Facebook has a very detailed algorithm that they use to display things in your newsfeed to you. So if you've liked a particular page, they're far more likely to show you posts from that person, because here's the other piece. If you have an ad that's going out to a person, it doesn't mean that that person is going to see your ad 100% of the time. They might see it 10% of the time or 3% of the time. But let's say that person has liked your page or follows you, and there's also an option on Facebook which says see posts from this page or person first, then Facebook will almost show you the ad always, right? Like I follow somebody called Gary Vaynerchuk, and I always see his post first. So every time I log into Facebook, his post is at the top for me. Right, so it does impact how many people see your ad. So the pay-per-click strategy on a social media platform should be supported by an organic strategy where you're trying to build an audience that just likes interacting with you. Right, the more the better, because that way your pay-per-click strategy will be more successful. I'm going to move on. There's some more questions, but we'll get to them, I promise. It's just I want to make sure we cover the content of the workshop as well. So bear with me, Bridget and Vicky. Okay, so step one. In terms of targeting your existing members, you want to export your database. So a lot of you either use Excel for your database or a software like Wild Apricot. So export the database from there and make sure you export it in a CSV format right here, the way it's set here. And then choose which information of the contact you want to include in the CSV. The most important one by far is email. The second one is phone, because Facebook, the way you're going to find these people back there is by their email address that's associated with their Facebook account. Second, when you go on to Facebook to create an ad, and you can go right here, it's linked here in the presentation, and Terry can actually share that in the chat as well. You can go and choose what type of ad you want to run. So that Facebook gives you many options. You can boost an existing post on your Facebook page. You can promote your page itself. You can send people to a website. There's many options. You can get people to install an app if you have one, right? So we're going to choose send people to your website. There's an option here for raise attendance for your event, but that's usually a Facebook event, so that's not the applicable one for us. So we're going to go send people to our website, plug in that information, and then we're going to do what's called creating a custom audience, right? So the custom audience, if I come back, is the file that we exported from here. We're going to take that same file and we're going to click the custom audience link, and we're going to upload it here using the customer list. And again, it's going to match the emails, phone numbers to the people that you have on your list. And somebody just asked a really important question, is what about people who have an email for personal versus work? So I have a slide later in the presentation, but basically think of it like a Venn diagram, right? You have the people that are in your database as members, and they may be using personal emails or they may be using work emails. Then you have the same people on Facebook, and they're using some particular Facebook email, some email for their Facebook account. Not all of your members will map to Facebook, right? The email or the phone number needs to match for Facebook to be able to identify the person within their database, right? And so you have to know that. You may have, like, let's say, 500 members that you're uploading for your Facebook ad campaign, right? Maybe only 200 of them have matching email addresses. That's okay, right? At least you get some part of your audience that you're capable of targeting.
Okay, and a couple just quick follow-up questions to that. Is there a maximum number of contacts you can upload?
No.
No? Okay, and should you export both work and cell numbers? Is that a good practice?
I would put as much info in there as possible. You never know with Facebook's algorithm, but usually it's just phone number and email that's the way they match it, because those are the unique identifiers on any particular person. Okay.
Some other good questions, but I think keep going, and we'll try to get to some of these afterwards.
Okay. Step 4. So we mentioned tracking, right? So you have this audience that you've uploaded, right? And before you create your ad, you want to make sure that your event registration form is set up to measure where your audience is coming from. Okay, so oftentimes if you've heard radio commercials or TV ads, they'll tell you, sign up today, use this discount code, or use this code when you sign up, or go to this custom URL. The reason they're doing that is because TV, radio, all these things cannot do what Facebook does, which is a direct click to connection to the actual event online. They give you that code or that custom URL so that they can connect their TV ad or radio spot to people coming to that page. So we're going to do something similar, and you can use Google Analytics as well, but the reason I haven't used that here is to keep the concept here simple. We can do an entire workshop on Google Analytics itself, but if you just add a field and ask your registrants, how did you hear about the event, and you include Facebook ads as one of the fields, you'll actually collect some good data, because people will notice that, hey, I clicked a Facebook ad, I ended up here, and they'll give you some data. And once you have that within your event registration form and your Facebook ad launches, you'll be able to go back into your Wild Apricot account and see, oh, okay, I had this many clicks on my ad, and this many people came from Facebook, and then measure whether or not the ad campaign was worth it.
Okay.
Terry, there's a question from somebody that says, where do you go to Facebook to set up your ad? If you can just share that link as well. Actually, Terry just shared it. It's facebook.com/business. That's the place where you go to set up your ad. Okay.
And for those, sorry, just for those who really want this step-by-step, because you're going through it quickly, Shiv, but there is a video and a course for this, everyone. So just try to get the big picture, and don't worry, you'll get the step-by-step instructions after this.
Yeah, and we'll send it in a follow-up email, and it's also linked here at the bottom, so we'll definitely get that to you. So step 5, you want to finalize your Facebook ad, and the person who had asked, like, can you cap the budget? Like, this is one way to do it. My recommendation is to start with $10 per day, just to see, is your ad working, right? Because it could be that even though the people that are clicking your ad, they may not come to your page and register for your event. So you might end up spending a lot of money and get no registrations, right? So by setting a daily budget, that's a low amount, you have the freedom to go a few days and see how the ad is doing. And if it's not working, then you have opportunities to tweak. The second piece is the schedule. So how long are you running? If you set a daily budget for $10 per day, but then you set your ad to run continuously as an option here, but your conference is on October 1st in 2016, then your ad's going to keep running even after the conference is over, and nobody's going to be able to register for it. So make sure you set a start and end date, and there's a lot more options in terms of how you can set your budget or what the timelines are, and there's advanced options which you can go through the Facebook ads platform on, but I just wanted to show you these two basic things. And then this is the most important step that I was talking about earlier, is measuring, okay, your ad is live, your event registration is live, how many registrants did you actually get from the ad? So within Wild Apricot, we've created like a dummy campaign here which says 5 people registered for our event from our Facebook ad campaign. So hypothetically, let's say we spent $200 on our Facebook ad campaign and we got 5 attendees from Facebook. We've spent $40 per customer. That's our customer acquisition cost that I was talking about earlier. Now, let's again hypothetically assume that each event registrant pays $100 to register. So we've netted a profit of $60 per person that registered for the event, even though it seems like we're in the hole initially for $200. Over the course of the campaign, we make $60 per registrant. So if you multiply this by 5, you made a profit of $300 on top of the spend, right? So it's a pretty successful campaign. That being said, right, it's very possible that, let's say your event fee is $20 and you come and do this calculation and you notice that you actually have a net loss of $20, right, per attendee. At that point, you know that you should go back to your ad and make some adjustments like we were talking about earlier, or potentially even stop the campaign, because for this particular event, maybe when you're only making $20 per event registration, maybe Facebook ads are not a good platform for you to use.
Okay, and just a quick good question from Kathleen that might apply to everyone. What happens when you reach your daily budget? Does the ad stop showing?
Yeah, Facebook will stop showing your ad. But you can, if you notice that the ad is working and you're at your budget, you can still go on and increase the budget for the day, and Facebook will then start showing it again. So it's really about just keeping an eye on it. There's companies out there that have dedicated people literally checking all of their Facebook ads by the minute, by the hour, because they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on this, right? Obviously, for small organizations, that's not practical. But if you just do a daily check, you'll find out very quickly, like, hey, it's working or not working, and if you should scale up the spend or scale down the spend.
Okay, so do you have any idea of, like, Yakov here has asked, like, what a typical range is for a bid? So if you start with 10, you keep an eye on it. What have you seen?
It really depends, right? My guess would be for the organizations that are on the call today, it would be below $1 per click for sure, below 50 cents even possibly, because the people that you're targeting is different than, let's say, if we were trying to target a bunch of people that are interested in marketing software. The market is so big, and there's so many competitors trying to get access to the same audience. Whereas if you're talking about, let's say, a professional association of nurses, there aren't as many people trying to target that particular audience on Facebook, right? So again, I don't want to give exact numbers because it really depends on who you're trying to target and what the competition is like, and those are variables we don't really know.
Okay, good stuff. And just to clarify, Norman here said that he heard yesterday that nonprofits and charities can get $10,000 of free AdWords. That's for Google AdWords, not Facebook. So good clarification. And later on this afternoon, we have experts showing us how you can take advantage of that free $10,000. So, but that is for Google, not Facebook.
Yeah, and I think Facebook might have some sort of a program, but I don't know the exact number. Step 7, and this is, again, the point that I've been iterating this whole time, is if you're going to do this, you have to be committed to adjusting, testing, and repeating, right? You're going to find versions that don't work, and where most Facebook ads fail, I'm sure everybody in the audience has heard something like, well, Facebook ads don't work, or I tried that before and it didn't work. When it comes to trying something here, it's more about persistence and consistency, because you constantly have to try many versions that fail before you find one that succeeds, right? So don't give up after trying this for one event where it doesn't work. I think it's going to take many iterations, but if you succeed, there's a pot of gold at the end, because then you can repeat that ad campaign over and over again, and that can mean a lot of returns for your organization. Which brings me to step 8, is that once you find a model that works, then you can spend $1,000 a day or $10,000 a day if you have the money to do it, because you know that every single time you put out an ad, your cost of acquisition is lower than the revenue that you're bringing in from your members, right? So increase your spending, scale up, and again, even if you scale up, I would still continue testing, because maybe the return you generate at $10 a day as your budget is a lot different than $10,000 a day, because Facebook is slowly going to run out of the people that you're trying to market your ad to, right? So again, it's very important to test, measure, analyze, and then improve, right? But at the same time, when you find something, it's a lot safer to scale up. Sure, yeah, and somebody just, Yakov just asked, like, what do you mean by scaling the ad? So I'll come back to step 7. There's a lot of things that you can change when you're adjusting the ad. In A/B testing, you can change the headline of the ad. You can change the description of the ad. You can change the image. You can change the people that you're targeting with your ad. There's infinite possibilities, because the types of targeting that you're doing can be altered in a million different ways on Facebook, right? So the options are limitless. So I would A/B test a lot of things. Some of the most popular things to test, in my opinion, would be to test the headline. Headlines usually make a big difference in terms of who's paying attention to what. Another thing that I would A/B test is image versus video. Video is becoming really big on Facebook. So if somebody mentioned millennials right now, I think Sue brought it up. If you use video, you might find it easier to engage millennials through your Facebook ad, right? And it has been proven in studies that using video in Facebook ads tends to convert better, because Facebook now has that autoplay feature, even though the video is muted, which is more engaging than just a static image. So these are all things that I would test with. Sorry, there's another question from Gabriella that says, do you have to get a person's permission to add their email to Facebook? Well, it's completely okay if that person is in your database, right? Because they have given you your email to be a member, so it's in your full right to target them on Facebook. And also, publicly available emails can be used for that, but I wouldn't try that. For me, it's more of a white hat strategy to just stay with people that are your members and not bring in just a cold list of 10,000 email addresses that you have no interaction with and target them on Facebook. So I would stick with the existing members and contacts in your database.
Shiv, there's been a bunch of questions coming in. Should we try to approach some of them, or do you want to keep going and save them for the end?
I've been trying to go through some right now, but I think let's keep going, because there's a lot more stuff, and I imagine a lot more questions coming up too.
Okay.
So those 8 steps that I just mentioned are for a very basic Facebook campaign to get existing members to your event. There's more details in the mini course, so I would take that, but there's more bonus tips that I want you guys to review and cover before we end this thing, right? So step 1, and this is the most important piece for me, is understanding who to target first. Who is the biggest question? And the second piece is, what are you offering them in any part of an ad, right? So always start with your existing members and existing contacts in your database, like I was mentioning, because those people are your warmest and hottest leads, right? So they're interested in your organization, they like what you do, and that's where you should be starting with the ad. The next tier that you go to is previous members that, let's say, left your organization or have had some interaction with you in the past, and website visitors who are coming to your site, have some interest but aren't members but could be members. I would target them next. And then the last piece is people and traffic that's completely cold. I would stay away from this, especially if you're just starting out, because the returns on this are really low. The conversions that you will achieve will be well below 1% for the most part, unless you have something just unbelievable. Usually it doesn't work. You need to have some sort of an audience that you've already built up in your database. I see some more questions on a member's wall. Sandra asked if my ad shows up on a member's wall, will it show up on their to their friends? No, it will not show up on their friend's wall, right? So if your member sees it on their wall and they share it or they like it, then somebody that follows them will potentially see it. And that's another piece of this is the ad shouldn't just be, hey, join our organization or come to our event. You always want to start with value. This workshop isn't about the copy of the ad itself, and maybe that's a great topic for us to do in the future is what does a great Facebook ad look like? But you want to start with value for the audience. What makes people care about what you're doing? For our example of the Professional Association of Nurses, maybe it's a great article that a nurse should be reading, or maybe it's about a certification that if a nurse takes through your organization can help her further him or her further their career, right? So start with value for the end user, and then come to things like the headline, the copy of the ad, the video, who you're targeting, and all of those things. Because if you started with value, that ensures your highest odds of success more than some tactic on an ad itself. I also see, what about increasing new membership? Emily, I'm going to get to that question. Emily just asked, how do I increase new membership via Facebook ads? I will get there in a second. This all connects together. So tip 2, as I mentioned, use custom audiences, because this is what we just did with our workshop, right? You have your data, which is like a Venn diagram, and that's in your membership management system. You have people on Facebook who have their emails, and the people that you know on Facebook are the people that match from here to here, right? So always start there, because then you can leverage those people to do a lot of other things, which we'll get to answer Emily's question. By the way, Lori, is my sound cutting out? Because somebody just complained about that.
For some people it is, and other people are reporting it's okay. So everyone, we do have a recording of everything. So I guess just keep going. It might be your internet.
Okay. So tip number 3, right? So we talked about the custom audiences in tip 2, which is people that are already in your database. Tip 3 is a similar concept, which is called retargeting. This is a really advanced tactic, but basically how it works is somebody comes to your Wild Apricot site or whatever site, wherever your website is housed. You have code on that page, which then pixels that person. And then Facebook is able to show the people that you've pixeled an ad on their news feed, right? The person does not have to be in your database. If they've come to a page that has that tracking pixel, you can then show them an ad, right? So it's a very similar strategy to the custom audiences. The only difference is that the custom audience is based on people that are in your database, and then you upload that database to Facebook. With the pixel, Facebook automatically shows the ad to the person who has been tagged with your tracking pixel as a visitor on your site. So you'll get some. Somebody just asked, what's a tracking pixel? So tracking pixel is like, it's a code. It's a code that you embed into a website's HTML code, and when you land on a website, it's like being tagged with a geo tracker. And you guys have likely seen this when you're browsing the web. You'll go to one website, and then a few hours later, you might be on another site, and then you'll see an ad for that website that you were on a few hours ago. What's happened there is somebody has tagged you with a pixel, and when you go to the future site, it's pixel, P-I-X-E-L. Tom just asked that. When you go to the future site, there's a Google Ads display network widget on that person's site, and that widget is dynamic. It only shows you ads from websites that you have been to before, right? And so the point of that, the reason is the people are trying to show you content on ads that you are actually interested in, right? So you can do the same thing on Facebook. You can tag somebody with a pixel because they came to your site, because, I don't know, you have some benefit offering that you're offering, like let's say an article or an event, or they just wanted to check out your organization. Now that you know that they're somewhat interested, they're somewhat of a warm lead. Now you can find them on Facebook and show those people only an ad using retargeting. Again, it's a very advanced strategy, but retargeting is what tends to work the best outside of custom audiences, because of the fact that the people are pre-qualified. They're further down that funnel that John Hayden was talking about yesterday, because they know a little bit about your organization. There are some questions. Oh, Jesus. Where do you get? So when you Jonathan asked, where do you get the tracking pixel? Yes, you get that. You get it from Facebook. So when you go and you say, I want to retarget someone, you can you just get the tracking pixel, and they give you custom code, and all you have to do is copy paste that into your website's code. And it's fairly simple to set it up, but at the same time, if you're not familiar with HTML and things like that, you could mess up your code. So I would be a little bit careful and get help from someone who is familiar with that stuff. will Facebook help us with adding the code? They won't help you do it because you have to add it to your website, but they have a lot of resources that teach you how to do this, and we're going to share a link for that later in this presentation as I go through it. Okay, tip number 4, and this is going back to this question of, okay, we know how to, we're not as worried about existing members, we want to get new members. There's something called Lookalike Audiences, right? So you have your membership database. Facebook allows you to upload that database, and then because their algorithm is incredibly intelligent, they can find other people on Facebook that map to your database, right? So if your database, let's say you upload 1,000 emails, and let's say out of the 1,000, 500 people are interested in following Dr. Oz, right? Because, I don't know, for some reason that's the show that they follow. Facebook will use that data to find other people who like that show and find and create what's called a lookalike audience within a territory. You could choose the country, you could choose it by city, you can get into a lot of advanced tactics with that. And what that lets you do is then you now have a whole new set of people who are similar to the people that are already in your database, and now you can show them your ad, right? So this whole concept of starting with your existing members, the reason it's so powerful is that you're educating Facebook's algorithm to make your future ads more successful, right? So again, always start with your home base, which is your existing members. Let's see, are there more questions on that? There aren't. Okay, so please, if you have questions about this particular one, jump in. I don't mind coming back to answer that as well. Okay, tip number 5, using demographics and interests. This is usually the last or the second last thing that you should try, but this is usually where people start. So if you tell anybody to create a Facebook ad, they jump ahead to this step and they go, well, I'm trying to target nurses, so obviously I should go by job title, get all the nurses in a particular area, and then show them an ad. Well, no, not really, because you have 4 other things to try here. You have to target custom audiences, you can retarget people, you have these lookalike audiences, you can do a bunch of things before you get to the step. And so this is usually why most people get discouraged with Facebook ads, because they're starting by targeting cold traffic, people that have never heard of them. That's not to say that it won't work. It can work, right? But it's a lot harder for it to work, and you often need more money for it to work, and so your cost of acquisition, that number that we talked about, actually increases. Jonathan just asked, can you choose all options for targeting at the same time, or do you have to choose one? Yeah, you can choose a lot of options. The only thing is that let's say you target by job title, by ethnicity, by politics, by education, like 4 or 5 different targeting options, your audience size will keep getting smaller, right? And so the smaller your audience gets, the fewer people are seeing your ad. And if it gets dangerously below, like let's say 1,000 people, then your ad won't really show to anybody because Facebook won't identify it as a valuable enough ad to show people. So you want to be very careful. I would you want to find like the critical targeting item. So let's say if I was selling, if I was a wedding photographer, right? Finding people on Facebook whose relationship status says engaged might be the only targeting option that I want to go after, because I know they just got engaged and they might be in the market for a wedding photographer. I don't need to go by ethnicity or education and all those things, because there is a critical targeting option available to me. And oftentimes, maybe you don't even need to do that, depending on how easy it is, how widespread your audience is, right? So targeting eliminates people as well, right? And if you eliminate potential people that can join your organization, the quality of your Facebook ad goes down. So you want to be very careful as to which demographics you're choosing. And most times I've noticed that when people make mistakes with this is they're guessing. So they might think, well, the typical member that joins our organization is above 45, so I'm going to change this age metric to be 40 and above. You can do that, but that's a guess on your part. You don't know what's going to work on Facebook, right? So if you want to do some tests where, let's say you have one ad running to all age groups and then another ad that runs at 40 plus, but then keep everything the same, then you might find that the 40 plus demographic is seeing a better conversion, and then you can go with that targeting option. But most times the guesses are random. Like some people might just put women only, even though their organization can serve men and women. That's a random distinction. You don't want to do that. Are there questions, Lori?
Shiv, I just want to give you a quick time check. It's 11:45, and there's a lot of technical questions here, everyone. So Shiv, I want you to get through your presentation, and then let's pick up a few of those questions at the end. But everyone, we're going to have all of this noted, and there's a video and everything. So if you're not catching everything right away, that's okay. But let's get through. And then we'll pick up a few of these. Okay.
That's a good idea. Okay. So tip number 6. Now, assume nothing else works, right? The first time I did this workshop, somebody asked me, well, we have a ATV Writing Association. How do we find new members for that? And my suggestion to people who, let's say, cannot find a demographic targeting option, or don't have a big enough custom audience, or any of those things to get an audience, the best way to do that is to call out your audience. So technically you can target everybody in Little Rock plus 25 miles and create an ad that calls out your audience. So what does that mean? So calling out means you could say, attention nurses in Little Rock, join this association event on, I don't know, how to improve your nursing certification or whatever it is, right? The only people that will click on that ad will be nurses, right? So over time, you will make Facebook's algorithm smarter, and it'll go, oh, okay, only these particular people are clicking on it, and then it'll start showing people, only those people, those ads, and it won't show it to the rest of the audience. The second thing that happens is as you build that audience, then you have a custom audience that you can leverage for lookalike audiences. But again, this is only to cold traffic, right? So you want to be, you want to go this route only if it's absolutely necessary and none of the other channels work for you. Tip 7, I already mentioned this earlier, build your Facebook fans. The more people like you on Facebook, the more likely it is that Facebook is going to show your stuff to those people and similar people to them. So definitely do that. And tip 8, just remember, your new customers are 5 times more expensive than existing customers, and this number could be 10 times or 3 times depending on your situation, but new customers by default are more expensive to acquire. Leverage these guys as much as you can. Turn them into loyal members. Turn them into people that refer your organization. Turn them into activists that every time you have an ad put out, they religiously click it, because that will make your organization more successful at finding the new customers. And I mentioned I was going to share a link on Facebook that has access to a lot of these resources. So you can go here. It's facebook.com/business/learn. And they have a lot of resources to teach you some of the things that I've been talking about, and many other things too. And they start from the basics, so it's fairly easy to understand. So definitely check that out. One thing I wanted to mention is that how does this all fit into the whole picture? Yesterday, John Hayden was talking about the funnel, right? So you have your membership funnel where you have visitors who turn into contacts, but whether they've attended an event or they've joined your newsletter or whatever, and they eventually turn into members. And what you're trying to do with your event is you're trying to gain some awareness for this thing that you're holding, and eventually you want people to become attendees. And you're almost trying to build a separate funnel for the event that plays off of your membership funnel, right? And then once you have this event funnel going, anybody who's a new contact, you need to build a process to get them back into your membership funnel. So these arrows here, they're really calls for you to be very strategic about this. Don't just put out a Facebook ad or create an event and then hope that people find their way to your website and jump through hoops for you. You actually have to make their path a lot easier and remove the hoops so that it's just a straight path for them to get through. So that might include a drip email campaign, or it might be a phone call. It could be really a lot of things that get them more interested in your organization, either to get to the event in the first place, or once they've attended the event and they're a new contact, to get them from here to the status of becoming a member, right? So be aware of the fact that you're really playing a very long game here, building an awesome funnel for your organization.
Right, and that's, sorry.
No, go ahead, Laura.
And yeah, if you just go back to that slide, Shiv, I just want to say this is an important point, because this is sort of Shiv's job here at Wild Apricot. You know, it's how all these channels link together. So for anyone who wasn't in yesterday's webinar, we'll share that information with you. And we're going to be talking about all these different channels throughout the week. So, and this is Shiv's specialty. So if you have questions about that, that's what he can help you with, figuring out that strategy.
And happy to answer those questions. And I definitely plan to get more and more into this stuff this year and put out some more content around ads and funnels and things like that. And speaking of content that we have around this, our very own Farhad on our team created a course last year on how to convert event guests into paying members. So Terry will share that link as well. It's a mini course, and it takes you step by step on how to take an event attendee who's a new contact and create a campaign to get them to become a member, really along the lines of this funnel that we have diagrammed out here. And we'll also include that in the follow-up email. And so in summary, I just want to point out a few things. Is know your ROI metrics, right? Track your campaigns using Wild Apricot or any other software that you use. Start with targeting existing members, because that's where the biggest pot of gold is, and use advanced strategies like retargeting to get the best results. And if there's any more questions, we do have some time, Lori, or are we done here?
Yeah, no, we have a full 10 minutes here, and I think that's good because I think there's a lot of technicalities and little questions that people have, but I think it's important to remember that big picture. So everyone here is saying, how do you retarget, or what's the best ad form? And what would you say, Shiv, is the bigger picture, the overall thing that people should keep in mind with Facebook ads?
I would say that Facebook should be a piece of your strategy, right? I'm a marketer, right? So I follow a lot of the big marketers out there. So my Facebook feed gets filled with these internet marketers that are trying to sell me some magic bullet solution that says, this is the one thing that will catapult your organization to the next level. I want to temper expectations, and I just say Facebook has to be a piece of your strategy, and you have to connect it with all the other strategies that you have going. Like you have your event manager running events, you have your membership manager that's constantly talking to members. Like you have all these pieces going, and you just need to add this into your arsenal or into your toolbox so that when you need it, you pull it out and you can implement a Facebook ad to support anything else that you're trying to do, right? So always have an eye on the big picture, and then when you're doing this, drill down into the macro. And people are asking some great questions, and somebody even asked if we'll answer some of these questions as a follow-up. We definitely will try to get to all of these in our follow-up email.
Yeah, maybe we'll write a summary blog post or something like this, because there's lots of great questions here. And it came up a lot, how do you adjust or keep monitoring? And I want to emphasize, even here where we have, staff working on this, it's not a magic solution, is it? Like we never quite know what's going to work. So any tips or advice on that, Shiv?
I agree. I mean, even in terms of the tracking, let's say, you go into your Wild Apricot site and you see 5 people came from Facebook. It could be that, they first heard about you from a friend, then they came to an event, then they saw you on Facebook, then they came to your thing, right, to your event, right? So it's really kind of like an orchestra, right? You have all these things happening at the same time. That being said, you still want to track and be very effective and keep an eye on those numbers, because otherwise you can make a lot of mistakes or on autopilot lose some money, and you're wasting some of the valuable proceeds of your organization. So I think the metrics piece is probably the biggest takeaway for me.
So any best practices on that? Do you think it's like the picture that's the most impactful, or the headline, or where should people put their attention?
It really depends. Headlines in terms of all copywriting is usually the most important, and the picture/media would be the second thing for me. So I would start there. Have an awesome value piece. It all starts with value. Forget the magic bullet or the tactics that there's these there's a lot of seminars out there on how to write a great subject line, like great secrets revealed on this webinar, right? So with me, it's more about the content. The content of this webinar is more valuable than whatever headline we gave to this webinar when we were sending out the email, right? So similarly, these organizations, when you're reaching out to your members on Facebook, have the value be so good that when they're scrolling past it, they don't scroll past, they stop, and they watch the video that you have, or they click your link because they care about the value that you're offering.
Right, and that's a super key message that our keynote is going to talk about on Friday, sort of figuring out what's your membership hook, or what's your value hook. And you have to kind of define that before you do any of this, right, Shiv?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay, so a couple security concerns. Will Facebook share your data with third parties, or what happens when you upload your list of members to Facebook? How does that affect, like, do people's private information get suddenly owned by Facebook? I don't know if you know that kind of stuff.
No.
Okay.
I'm not sure about their privacy policy, to be perfectly honest. No.
Right. Okay. It's a fair question to ask, though, with member information. And someone did ask, is there any kind of nonprofit or charity program for Facebook? And Terry looked it up, and we couldn't find anything for Facebook. Yeah. So he said no, there's definitely not. But there is for Google. So keep in mind that you do get $10,000 of Google Ads campaign words. So we're going to learn all about that this afternoon. Okay, we can take a couple more of these more technical questions. So Shiv, sometimes you can boost a Facebook ad as opposed to create an ad. What are your recommendations there, and how are they different? Or is it better to boost as opposed to create an ad?
I think you can really go either way. If you're starting out, I would go with the boosting. There's a few benefits to boosting a particular post because when you do a Facebook ad, they put limits, restrictions on how many characters you can use. With the boosted post, that's not the case. You can write a lot more and give your core message a little bit better. Yakov just asked, what's boosting? So boosting is when you put up a regular Facebook post on your page, and then you decide to boost it with money to show it to a particular audience, right? But for me, in the long run, Lori, it really doesn't matter as much because it really depends on your targeting options, right? And the different options that we have with the custom audiences or the retargeting. With retargeting, you'll have to run a Facebook ad. I think that's better. But with boosting, if you're targeting, let's say, lookalike audiences, that's a great strategy, especially if you have a lot of likes, right? If let's say you have, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 followers, or even if your organization is small, let's say you have 500 followers, that would be a great way to show it to them and then hope that the lookalike audiences shows it to their friends.
Okay, so really it's about selecting the right audience to show your ad to, right?
Yeah.
That's the key thing. And then there's a question here about how you actually upload that. Is it just your database, or it's the retargeting? Could you just recap the 3 ways to set your audience?
Sure. So I can just go back up here. So the first is the custom audience. Custom audience is an Excel sheet that you're uploading to Facebook, right? And so they're already in your database, and you have some information about them, like first name, last name, email address, phone number. The retargeting is around the pixel. So you're taking a tracking pixel from Facebook, which you can get through their ads manager. You put that on your website, and then you show ads to everybody that has visited your website because they get tagged by that tracking pixel. So it's a little bit different, although the dynamics of the ad are the same. You're showing it to only a specific subset of people that you have interacted with in some way.
Okay, sorry, I was muted there. Okay, I think we're gonna wrap it up there because I know there's lots more technical questions like, how do you put your pixels on your website and so forth, and we're gonna try to get to all those questions somehow and follow up with you with some good articles and instructions. So I just want to thank everyone for attending. I hope you learned a lot. There's a lot here, and Shiv, thanks for presenting all this. Do you have
My pleasure.
One last big tip for everyone to take away from this?
No, for me, it's just start with value and make sure you're showing it to the right audience.
Okay, good stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to take presenter control back here,
Sure.
and just let everyone know about the upcoming webinar this afternoon, actually. So that's, I've mentioned it a couple times. It's on Google Ads, and they're going to give a lot of best practices around how to use that $10,000 of free money that you have. And this is just, part of what we're doing this week. So as Shiv mentioned, we learned about the funnel at the beginning of this week with John Hayden. And now you're learning a little bit about how to get people into the funnel with Facebook ads or Google ads. And then the rest of the week is really about engagement and developing that membership model. And then on Thursday, we have Sarah Sladek, who's really focusing on millennials, because we know a lot of you are struggling with getting that generation. So definitely check out the full agenda and tell folks tell folks to sign up. And tomorrow we've got Amy Sample-Ward, who's the CEO of the Nonprofit Technology Network, and she's going to show you how you can use all kinds of channels to really create that customized engagement strategy for your audience. So thanks everyone for joining us. If you're new to Wild Apricot, you can try out our software. We provide membership management software for clubs, associations, or nonprofits. We can handle your payments, your events, all sorts of things. So give us a try if you're curious. And if you need a bit more one-on-one coaching, you can always email coaches@wildapricot.com. And Jason or someone else will walk you through to help you figure out if this solution is what your organization needs, because we know it's complicated. So again, thank you for joining. Thank you, Shiv. That was fantastic. And everyone have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks, Lori.